Big question. Big question. We watched Demetrious. Loved. I have such a high knowledge of kicks. What do you call the kick? To me, it was almost like an axe kick. When he was behind, he comes up like an axe kick, but he's hitting the guy that's behind the kick. What do you call the kick? What is the name for that kick?
Mighty Mouse kick? I don't know.
It's beautiful, isn't it? It's great.
Whatever he wants it to be.
It's almost like it became disjointed at the hip, and it kicked him right in the head.
He makes everything look so easy, so easy, so technical, so.
All right, boys. Is he the GOAT? Is he the greatest of all time? You first.
I'll take the easy way out and say at 125, yes.
Well, 125, sure.
I think there's so many great guys, and it's so easy to forget. Like Anderson lost a couple, and he's not at his top, so now people you tend to forget. Oh, he's not, but he was. And John Jones is, and at one point I thought Kane was the best in the world, but he can't stay healthy. I mean, but I think Demetrious is definitely in the top 2 or 3 of all time.
Well, he's defended now 10 times.
Yep,
10 times.
One more time, he breaks Anderson Silva's record.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, not taking it lightly. He breaks a record. Does that make you the greatest of all time? Just because you break the record? I don't think so, personally. No. I don't think just breaking a record makes you the greatest of all time. Of course, your fighting ability mixed in with it and everything else makes you the greatest of all time. At 125, yes, he is. But I cannot argue when people say he's the GOAT. I can't argue because he's proving it left and right.
I think what takes away from them, I think people always think of the heavier weights. Like even when you think of boxing back in the day, the best, the Tysons, the big heavyweights.
Well, that's what drives the sport.
Yeah, and I think what takes away from him is being at the 125.
I absolutely agree. I think that's true.
But I love watching him fight. I used to joke with my friends saying when him and Dotson would fight, you had to use a slow motion to slow it down because it was like, what's going on?
No, he's one of my favorites. He's a great guy, too. I love Demetrious. And, it's just he's a pleasure 360 degrees around, and I love watching him fight. He's one of my favorites. Obviously, we set a record with the gate there. I couldn't call it a sellout, but it seemed awfully sold out to me looking around by the time the fight came around.
So can I be honest with you?
Please.
Demetrious Johnson is the 4th greatest fighter of all time.
Lay it out.
Number 1, Anderson Silva.
Yes.
Number 2, George St. Pierre.
Yes.
Number 3, Fedor Emelianenko. And number 4.
Questionable.
Why?
I'm just saying questionable.
No,
I put him in the top 5. I don't know if I'm going to call him top 3.
Tell me why.
I love Fedor, too. And that's all besides the point. I mean, yes, as a heavyweight, I'm going to go with maybe the 3rd or less greatest heavyweight ever. I'm not going to call him the greatest fighter of all time.
You're not going to call him the greatest heavyweight of all time?
Oh, the greatest heavyweight? I just told you.
I thought you just said he's the 3rd greatest heavyweight of all time.
No. I said I would put him in the top 3, which means I could call him the greatest heavyweight of all time.
Right, yeah.
Time to think about it. Yeah, absolutely.
I just
Sorry
said
if I came across wrong.
I'm confused.
I thought you said the greatest of all time, meaning
I just said Fedor is the 3rd greatest fighter of all time.
Okay, but the greatest heavyweight of all time.
He's clearly the greatest heavyweight of all time. There's no debate.
Yes.
So, number 1, Anderson Silva.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, George St. Pierre.
Mm-hmm.
Number 3, Fedor Emelianenko.
Okay, got it now. Sorry.
And number 4, Demetrious Johnson.
And where do you put John Jones?
Yeah. John Jones, I would put him at 5. And the reason I would put him at 5 is because he's not done authoring his story. Okay,
no, I'm with you on
that. The big thing about John Jones at this point is the man needs to stop embarrassing himself because John Jones' biggest opponent in his career has been himself, and it remains to be himself.
Didn't I write that in my book? I put that in my book.
You told John that before he became the UFC light heavyweight champion.
Head-to-head dinner
on this radio show.
That's right. That's right.
Yes.
Not just on dinner private. I told him on the show. I tell him like it is, don't I?
Yes.
That's right. He got the buffer talk.
You told him that. Bruce, honestly, you told him that he had the opportunity to be the Muhammad Ali of mixed martial arts. You did.
I wish you had that clip. I would love.
Well, I can pull it up if you want me to.
Yeah.
I'll pull it up for next week.
Okay.
It's there.
That would get us background. Okay. No, but you are exactly correct. How can you be the greatest of all time when you're sitting on your duff? And I mean it with all respect. You can't walk into the cage or the ring, and you can't fight until everything is settled, which it is in July, right?
Yeah.
But he can't make the UFC big UFC in July.
Dana White said that he's not going to put him in the main event.
No, but he did say he would make him. Did he even say he'd make him co-main?
Yeah, he said he'd make him. I mean, here's the bottom line. Honestly, I love Dana. He's very important to the sport and the success of it.
You say it's so casual.
But I'm just saying it because it's common knowledge. That's why I say it so casually. But the bottom line is when John Jones fights, it's not really going to be up to Dana White whether or not he's the main event. If John Jones is on a card, he's going to be the most intriguing story, and you don't have another fighter short of Conor McGregor on contract right now that would trump him for fan appeal at this point.
Yes, I'll go with, except for Conor McGregor.
That's what I just said.
Yes. I'm listening to you now, I promise.
Are you sure?
But here's the main thing in that reason, and then we're going to go on to, I want to get into Eric's story. The main reason for that is all marketing standpoint, too. Millions and millions of dollars will have to be spent will be spent, not have to be spent, will be spent promoting the comeback of Jon Jones. In order to do that, you don't ever jeopardize, which has happened on, 2 occasions already, that your main event is in question. And to go through that big change. I think a lot of lessons have been learned over the last couple of years with the canceled fights that Dana and the matchmakers have had to deal with. So you put him in a position on the show that, you still spend the millions, but you also have something else counteracting it. So that's another key reason I think involving him not being a main event. But we all want to see him fight. We can't wait for it's going to happen.
Dana just said that it's up to Jon Jones. Does he want to fight in July? Or
No,
does he want a warm-up fight?
I don't know if it's really like that. I don't know. Is his suspension in time for him to... He can train now no matter what, right?
Yeah, I mean, he can train whenever he wants to. It's whether or not he can be a licensed fighter, and he cannot be a licensed fighter until July, right around International Fight Week. It'll be a year from UFC 200. So
and until that's signed, done, and deal, we can't estimate when he'll be back. He's got to get that piece of paper saying he's signed.
No, I mean, he's suspended for X amount of days. So once that day hits zero, he can be a licensed fighter again. He may, because I mean, technically, I don't believe that he's even suspended with the athletic commissions. This was a USADA violation.
Gotcha.
So this is an independent thing. So, I mean, technically, Jon Jones, I believe, could, if he was not a licensed fighter with the UFC, could go fight anywhere he wants to. You know what I mean? If he's under contract.
You know he could. But he's not.
No,
never leave the NFL, and the UFC is the NFL. I know what you mean.
I don't think you understand what I'm saying. Like,
I'm getting good at that today.
Yeah. No, what I'm saying is if he didn't have a UFC contract, there's nothing preventing him from taking a fight. Gotcha. He's not suspended according to the Association of Boxing Commissions.
Okay.
He's suspended because of USADA, which only UFC athletes are subjected to.
Thank you.
Do you think?
I mean that sincerely.
Do you think the DC wants him to fight in July? That way he doesn't have a warm-up fight, or not make that card, and then because
if you go by history, Jon Jones did not look good when he came back after the long layoff and fought Ovince St. Preux. Dan Cormier, if Daniel Cormier is at his best, DC has a much better chance at beating Jon Jones, the Jon Jones that showed up and fought Ovince St. Preux. So historically, Jon may not look all that great coming back for a first fight. If I was Daniel Cormier, I would say, no, I'm the champion. You're the quote-unquote greatest of all time. I want to fight you. I should be your first fight back. That's what I would want to do.
Do you know, speaking of great fighters, do you know who I compare Daniel Cormier to?
Who's that?
The career of Randy Couture. I look at Daniel Cormier, and I think how he's a wrestler, how he's fought everybody, anybody, no question. Been questioned his ability. Will he win this fight? And he takes it on, loses the championship, gets it. All that. I see a lot of similarities.
Maybe I don't know if Daniel Cormier has ever been an underdog to anybody except Jon Jones.
Not necessarily on the underdog situation.
Well, Randy Couture was an underdog almost all of his fights.
That, in respect to that is not a comparison that's correct, and you're right on that. But looking at it, every else, his grit, his ability to deal with adversity, and and just. The manner and the demeanor of the man just reminds me a lot of Randy Couture.
Sure. Same college.
But you never heard Randy Couture complain as much as DC.
You never heard Randy Couture complain at all, except...
What does Daniel Cormier complain about it? Fill me in on this.
Jon Jones.
Is that complaining,
what is he
or is that kind of calling...
What's his gripe,
For example, shouldn't be allowed to come to the event. Don't come into the ring.
Oh,
come on, dude.
That's smack talking, though. He's not really complaining.
Why do you even care?
Because that's his main rival.
I know, but it almost feels like...
That's not complaining.
I almost, honestly, and I love DC. Like I said, I love the Americans. He was on the Olympic team. I love all that part of him. But, dude, just fight. Don't, who cares? I mean,
but if we've learned anything over the last probably 3 or 4 years...
Smack talk sells.
Yeah, if you don't do things like that, you don't get paid.
But now he reversed it. Now he's accepting the villain. I'm the villain, even though he's not the villain, but, because
he's a nice villain.
Yeah.
No, I'm pretty sure he's the villain. You hear this guy get booed, he can't walk anywhere.
But now before he would get all butthurt about it, now he's like...
You got to. Tyron Woodley's doing the same thing.
I have a more personal relationship, I think, than either of you do with Daniel Cormier, and he's my friend, and we've had a chance to really enjoy some private time together with, with Anik and other guys. even when we went to our producer's wedding all together at the same table, and he's just a great guy. He's so much fun. He's highly intelligent. He walks the walk and talks the talk himself. There's no question. I just very enamored of Daniel. I like him as a human being. I love him as a fighter, and I just like guys that are grit and get in there.
No, I love him, dude. Yeah. I mean, I love him, but I mean, if it comes down to him or John Jones, I like John Jones. John Jones is
really,
yeah.
I'm confused in why you like John Jones better than Daniel Cormier.
I already told you. I go with
we're going to have an hour and a half for the show because this is good stuff. But I got a lot of good stuff.
The cutest. John Jones is cuter.
There we go. That's it right there. There's the answer.
I will say this, and I think this is the main thing that DC complains about is why does Daniel Cormier get booed when John Jones is beloved? Daniel Cormier didn't test positive for cocaine. Daniel Cormier didn't have a hit and run accident. Daniel Cormier didn't have a DUI and crashed up a car.
Let me
Daniel Cormier is an American hero. John Jones is a badass rock star, and he's beloved for it, where the American hero, the member of the Olympic team, is booed because people prefer John Jones over him.
And growing up, I liked Tommy Lee, and I liked the no, with John Jones, just he changed that style. Like Cormier's style is, like you win, but I like just like. You tell me in the 170 GSP, I love GSP. My favorite fighter, Carlos Condit. Why? I love the style, and I like John Jones' style. He just changes, and he morphs into different stuff every fight. He's something, and that's what I like.
What we have here is different strokes for different folks.
Mm-hmm.